Hey, I'm Cameron McKenzie. I'm the editor-in-chief over at theserverside.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at CameronMCNZ. But for now, I wanted to talk to you about Git Clean, specifically how to clean untracked files from your working tree. By the way, I've got some tutorials on how to clean Git branches with squashes and rebase, so check those out. If that's what you were talking about or thinking about when you talked about Git Clean, you might want to go over there. This is specifically going to take a look at that Git Clean command and how it can blitz untracked files, directories, and even files listed in your gitignore. So as you can see, I've got an empty directory here. There's nothing in it, as that ls command would imply. I can do ls-a, and you can see I've got some hidden files there, but really nothing of import. Now let's imagine I issued a git clean command, which wouldn't make much sense because that's supposed to clean untracked files. But if I run it, you'll notice it gives me this little no f's given response, which I think is most rude. But it basically says, if you're going to clean stuff, that means deleting it, and version control is not about deleting, it's about versioning things. And if you're going to delete something that's unchecked, unregistered, untracked is what I mean, there's going to be no history of it. So make sure you know what you're doing. But in order to kind of demonstrate how the git clean command works, I think it should probably have some sort of file in here. So let me create a txt file. So now I've got one file here, and I can say git clean, and it'll still tell me that no f's are given. But I can say to it, look, okay, I want a little bit more information. I can say git clean -n, and that's called a dry run. And it says, you know what, if you run git clean right now, it'll remove hello.txt, because basically that's not a tracked file. Then you can make it tracked by adding it to the index. And if I do git clean again, you notice that nothing comes up because there's nothing that's ready to remove. Of course, this example is not going to be very interesting if we don't have anything to remove. So let's add something that will be removed. So why don't we add a hello.java file to that? If we do a dry run on the git clean now, you can see, yeah, it would remove that hello.java file because it's new and it's not tracked, even though that there is still that hello.txt file there. Now, we all know when Java files get compiled that they turn into .class files. Now, maybe not everybody knows that, but I know that, and my Java friends know that. So let's add a .class file in here. Now, you don't version control compiled code, and I do believe that my .gitignore file ignores .class files. So if I now do a dry run once again, you'll notice that it says, it's still only going to remove hello.java. So as you can see, the clean command does not touch tracked files, and it does not track ignored files. Here's another thing it doesn't track. It doesn't track new directories. And so if I take a look here, you can see I've got a new directory. If I do a git status command, you can see that, hey, there's a whole bunch of new stuff in there. Actually, it looks like the git status command doesn't even pay attention to that new directory. But if I do a git clean and ask for a dry run of the git clean, it's still saying it would only remove hello.java. Now, you can actually force ignored files, and you can force directories to be ignored by using the X and D switch. And so look at this now. If I say, hey, git clean, and use -n-x-d, n for the dry run, because it's not removing anything, just saying it would remove it, it's not only going to remove the untracked file, but it's also going to remove the new directory, and it's also going to remove the file that normally wouldn't be touched because it's protected by the gitignore file. And so that's all 1, 2, 3 of those different switches daisy chained together. Now, if you're real crazy, if you're really in a mood, if you really just want to be nasty, you can always force this stuff to happen. Not FOCRA it, force it to happen, and get rid of that -n. And if I do git clean force, well, guess what that's going to do? That's going to force all those files to be cleaned. And when we talk clean, what we're really talking about is being deleted. So let me pull the trigger on that. Boom. All of a sudden it says you need 2 dashes in front of your force, and I knew that. Boom. And there we go. It removed those files. If I do an ls, you notice that the only file that's there is hello.txt. And why is that? Well, let's go to our git status command, and it will tell us that the reason that that's still there is because that's been added to the index and it's currently tracked. So there you go. That's the ins and outs of working with some of these files when you're working with the git clean command. And there you go. That's everything you need to know about the git clean untracked command. So if you found that interesting, why don't you head over to the serverside.com. Over there, we've got a whole bunch of Git, GitHub, GitLab tutorials, anything that has to do with DevOps or enterprise software development. If you want to keep up with my personal antics, you can follow me on Twitter at CameronMCNZ. And I always suggest that you subscribe on YouTube.